Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today we're going to be taking on a bit of a basket case. I'm going to see if I can get this reel running again. I don't know that it's going to be possible. I'm going to try the best I can. The biggest issue that the reel has, I've already taken it apart a couple times, cleaned it as much as I can. Well, not as much as I can, but as much as I was willing to at the time. And I've still got some work to do on it. But one of the things that, the biggest problem that it has, notice the bail here will not stay over. All right, and the reason that the bail will not stay over is the bail trip for this is this pin right here. Okay, that pin is supposed to come out when the bail comes over and go up and drop into that hole. Well, it can't do that because this pin is frozen in the hole. And I have tried driving it out with a punch and a screwdriver. I've tried all kinds of things. None of those things worked. I was unable to get that pin to budge at all. It never moved one iota. I tried boiling it in hot water to try to soften the plastic maybe, and it just does not budge whatsoever. So what I'm gonna end up doing, we're gonna take this all apart, and I think I'm gonna end up taking a drill and drilling through the plastic to see if I can free it up, or I'm going to take a Dremel tool and cut the plastic away. I'm not real sure yet. We're going to have to get into this and see what I want to do. But let's get started on it. I'll start off by taking the drag knob off and pulling the spool off. That's another problem that this thing has, is the spring for the clicker is broken. It's snapped in two. Therefore, it no longer clicks. It just gets in the way. I'm going to try to make one of those. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but I'm going to try it. So it latches on up here. So we'll see what I can do with that. That's something I actually might be able to purchase. I was able to acquire a new pin for this. And if I can get the old pin out without damaging the rotor, then I should be able to install the new pin and we can go from there. So let's proceed on. Let's take the handle off. Okay, I'm going to pull out these 4 screws on this side. This reel's been floating around in a bag for the last month and a half, trying to get it up and going, and I've been unsuccessful in the background, but I decided that if I actually was going to attempt this and try to fix it, I at least wanted to capture it on video. This may be a major fail. We'll see. Okay, with that out, this plate should come out. There we go. It's got the side plate off. All right, now this crosswind block is held in by this plastic piece here with 2 pins in it. All right, those 2 pins slide through the crosswind block and through the axle shaft and lock that into place. So let's go ahead now and slide the axle shaft out. There we go. And we will take out the crosswind block. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the rotor nut. Now, I believe that that is going to be this 14 millimeter. Don't think I put it on too tight. I didn't. I knew I was going to be taking it back off. Okay, there's the rotor nut removed, and it's got this keyed piece in here that it's kind of like a washer, but it's a locking plate. It locks the rotor to the shaft. All right. So we've got this. I haven't taken this part apart at all. I have not. Once I got this far, I always stopped. So I did take this apart, pull all this out, and I tried to disassemble this rotor and was unsuccessful because I couldn't get that pin out. So you guys are going to go with me as we tackle this project. Okay. And The rotor's not sprung. It actually sits right where it's supposed to, so it's in good, or not the rotor, the bail wire. This side over here is very simple. It just lifts right straight out with the screw out. There we go. Okay. Set that over to the side. We've got the bail spring out. That brings us to here. And none of this will come out. There is a C-clip that I was able to take off right here. Okay, I was able to take that off, but I've been unable to get this pin to move in any way, shape, or fashion. This part here will move on the shaft. So what I'm considering doing is going ahead, taking my Dremel tool and cutting this shaft off right here and seeing if that will take the pin out. If it does, if that, this pin piece, see, I don't know if it's frozen at this end or at this end. I think it's very likely that it's frozen right here where the stainless steel shaft goes into the aluminum body. I think I've got dissimilar metal corrosion in there is what I think happened. And so I think it's actually frozen right here. But I'm gonna have to free up this part out here to be able to get this stuff off. And it's just, I'm really baffled by how to go about doing this. I'm gonna start off by taking this spring off. By the way, let's go ahead and take a really close look at how all this goes together and how the part of it that does function functions. Okay, this slides. This part here will slide on the pin like so. See, all that's free to move. It's just the pin will not move. And I have tried driving that out. I've tried grabbing it with needle nose vice grips and driving it down that way. I'm afraid hitting it too much, I'm gonna fracture the case. So I think probably the first thing I'm gonna do after I take this spring loose over here is I think I'm gonna take a Dremel tool and cut this plastic away right here and see if maybe that's frozen in that housing. So I think that's where we're gonna start after we take this spring off. By the way, this is a tough little spring. It's got a lot of power behind it. There we go. There's that little sleeve. There's the ring. Okay, there's the spring. Okay. With the spring off, this piece now moves freely back and forth, and it butts up against right there. So I'm going to try to take my Dremel, I think, and go ahead and try to cut this plastic away. And I got to do it in such a way, though, as so to not hit the aluminum case. So okay, I'm back, and I've got the Dremel tool set up with this cutting wheel, and I'm going to try to cut this plastic out of here. Like I said, I've never done anything like this, so this is all new. I got to keep an eye on it. So far, I've cut nothing with plastic. That's good. I gotta be very careful not to hit the metal housing. Okay, all the plastic that was in the slot has been cut away. Now I'm going to grab the end of this. It does not turn. I'm afraid I'm not gripping it with enough force, so we're going to move on to a pair of vice grips. Okay, the pin is turning. So, I don't believe it's back here. It has to be this plastic piece. It's frozen inside the housing. So, all right, I'm down to the pin all the way around. All right, we're going to try to pull it out again. I'm going to go off camera to apply maximum force. And I did not get it out. It did not budge. I will say this, I'm very impressed with how well that is holding in there. All right. Well, with that... All right. Maybe my knife's gotten dull. I'm going to try to get this last little bit of plastic out of the center. Because it looks like I just about have it cut away enough that I should be able to maybe... No, the pin's not going to come out up to the top. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take a small drill bit and try drilling down through the plastic around it to see if I can free it up. Okay, my plan is to drill down into this plastic, but before I do that, I'm going to try something else. I want to cut away the plastic out here as much as I can. There we go. Okay, and I don't know if it's going to be possible, but I'm going to try to put my drill on that. Don't know if that's going to work, but I'm going to try it. Okay, well that worked so far. Okay, now let's see if I can use that to convince that pin to come out. Hey, how about that? That convinced the pin to come out. All right. Now, we still got the plastic piece stuck in there, but I think we're a whole lot more likely to get that out now. Wow, that is really, really jammed in there. There it comes. Okay. Wow. Quite a bit of saltwater corrosion in that hole. And I would venture to say Yeah, look at that. And that's what caused everything in there to bind up. Now the question is there enough metal left there to hold the pin structurally straight when I put it all back? Let's go ahead and take this off of here for a moment. And let's clean that off. We don't want to remove too much metal so that the pin isn't held tight. Let me find my new pin, and let's gently slide it in with a little bit of grease on it just to see how it's going to fit in the hole. I'm going to put just a little grease, not a lot. I don't want to slop the hole up. But that thing was definitely jammed in there. Okay, there's still too much corrosion in that hole for that pin to fit through. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the pin, the diameter, and I'm going to get a drill bit that size and very gently ream that hole with the drill bit. See if I can reshape it back to the right diameter. Okay. .23. All right, let me see what I can do for a drill bit. Okay, seems that size comes out to basically a 7/32 drill bit. So we're gonna, by hand at first, yeah, try running this through. I don't really want to run it with the drill. I'm afraid we could take too much off. And I know there's corrosion in that housing, so. Okay, just a few minutes, we're going to stop and clean all this mess up. Look at there. Okay, it's a good snug fit. I'm going to stop now. I'm going to clean this mess up. When I come back, all these stuff is going to be off here, and we're going to be working on taking this the rest of the way apart, cleaning it up, and getting it back together. All right, I'm back. We're going to go ahead and finish scrubbing these parts up a little bit. We got all the extra tools and stuff out of the way, and we've got this thing pretty much cleaned up and just about ready to go back together. This is the part I took out, and like I said, I felt that they were operating pretty well. They seemed to be working, doing what they were supposed to do. All right, and there's our spring. This collar, I'm not really, that goes over the spring. I think it's like an anti-vibration damper. Okay, and here is our pin, and we are going to grease the plastic, and we're also going to grease the hole, because I want it to have as much rust protection or corrosion protection in there as we can get, like that. All right, so we're going to set this back in like so, and then slides the pin. Well, before I go getting the pin in there, let me find a C-clip. The C-clip is missing now. It might be in the bag over here, but I haven't seen it. All right, I got a C-clip that will work on it now. Got that taken care of. Now I just got to get it put on there, popped in place. All right, I'm gonna snap it off of here. There we go. And Dan, you sent me some that would work beautifully Unfortunately, I had some help cleaning up my shop this week, and now I can't find them. So once I do find them, then that'll help a lot. All right, we're going to grease up the pin. We're going to grease up the hole inside the housing where the pin goes. Okay, we are going to grease the shaft of the pin. And now we're going to slide it in. Okay, there we go. And get that end in the hole. Okay, we're going to come back now, right where this goes into the hole. We'll put a drop of oil. And we're going to tip this up, and we're going to put a drop of oil in that hole, right there. And then slide this in a few times, making sure we've got it good. All right. Now I believe we're going to want this C-clip on, or E-clip on, before we put the spring on. So that's going to be the next task, is to get that snapped in. Problem is that it's got to sit right up against the plastic housing to go in. Magnet can do wonders for grabbing hold of things. Okay, I've got it in on the slot. Let's see if I can get it to snap into place. There we go. E-clip's installed. Put the pin back in the hole. There we go. Everything here seems to be moving like it should. All right, let's get the spring installed. Now, it's got this black plastic collar right here that slides over the spring. So we're going to put it back over it. I'm not really exactly sure what its purpose in life is, but it's in the diagrams. It's part of it, so it's going to stay. And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, because there's not enough room to use my normal hook that I use. So I'm going to have to use a straight edge of a safety pin to pull this spring back and get it to go in place. Oh, it didn't stay on the hook. Okay, we're going to take that and try to hook it on that post. I'm trying to get it to where I can see it and you can see it. Okay, we're going to put it over and slip it down over the post, like so. There we go. And the pin has come out of the hole. There we go. And the pin is going to come out of the hole every time until the bail spring goes back on. All right. I don't often do reshoots on my videos, but this portion was important enough that I thought that I should. Chris pointed out after I posted the video that this rubber donut deal here that I've got over top of this spring is not a spring damper. This is a dry rotted rubber band brake assembly that is supposed to stretch out over this brake assembly right here. And this piece that I in the video called a bearing retainer, even though it is a bearing retainer. In the parts listing, it is referred to as a brake drum because this brake assembly fits down inside there with the brake riding against it. All right. So if you wished to repair this, you would have to put a rubber band style brake back on there. This one obviously is never going to stretch back out over there. It's broken, and I figured I would post that and update you guys on it before too many people got in there and viewed this video. All right, thanks. Well, in that case then, we better get to work putting this bail spring back on, or bail back on. I'm going to start off by taking off this nut right here. And we will set the bail back in place like so, with the spring in place. The spring has got a hole down in here. You gotta find, and put this tag end here into that hole, like that. Once that's done, we want to take this piece. This is our bail assembly, and we're going to take, and this hole here has got to go on this pin of the spring. All right, then this ought to be fun. While holding this pin down, wow, this is going to be a lot of fun. While holding this pin down, we've got to hold that down and get this to line up over top of the post hole, right there. And then put the screw back in. And that'll be, there's two of these screws. One has a shoulder and one does not. This will be the one with the shoulder. Get it over top of the hole. Did that just pop out? I'm afraid it might have. Oh, I know this part did. Maybe that's what popped out. This is going to be fun. As I said, this is the very first time ever messing with one of these beasts. And Chris recommended it to me. Chris Jenkins is responsible. He recommended this, so I did it. And now my spring just come out again, or my screw. Chris has done a lot of these reels, and he's familiar with them. He got me through to this far, and without his help, I'm not sure I ever would have even attempted this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my hemostats. And we're going to push this pin down and then lock it in place right there. All right, we're going to keep that there. See if it'll hold better there. Okay, we're going to put the spring in the pin hole. And we're going to bring this down to get it over top of the hole where the screw goes, and the spring just keeps popping out every time I do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to spring the spring just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit so that it will stand a little proud, so it's less likely to pop out of the hole when we put it on. I don't want to do it a whole lot, just a little bit, just enough to make it stand out a little bit taller than it was. And get the spring down in the hole, and let's try this again. See if one end of this is longer than the other. Yeah. We'll use the longer end to stick up through the bail. Okay. This looks like it might work. All right. Down a little bit. Let's move it down. My, look at that. Well, this is actually a brake assembly. Wondered what it was. I couldn't figure it out. It didn't make any sense. Now that it's up and functional, okay, when the brake, when this is fully forward, it releases off the brake here. It will sit down inside this rim right here, and it will act as a brake riding along there. All right, and when it comes back this way, it actually brakes and stops the rotor so that it can't rotate. How about that? All right. Well, that's a complex little guy, and I hope I never have to take it apart again. And this reel was actually gifted to me by Charlie, because I really didn't think I could fix it. And so Charlie gave it to me. Told me to go play with it if I wanted to. Because I really don't see me ever using this reel this big. And I already have several reels that are this large. So, Chris, I know you're very fond of these. I know you collect them, but I don't know that this is the reel for me. But it is a brute, I'll say that. Okay, I think we're missing this lock nut. I think it was on there. Locking washer. Yep. All right, we've still never gotten this part apart, so let's proceed on. I'm back out just a little bit. That's as far as it'll go. Okay, let's go ahead now and take our bearing cover off. Okay, this ramp right here is our trip for that bail. Okay, and it goes closest to the top up here by the handle. Okay, so that's where we're going to put it. Okay, we'll take that off, and this has been well lubed in here. Maybe I did take this off a couple months back when I first got this thing. It certainly looks like I did. I believe I did now that I'm thinking about it. All right, so that's out. But we're going to take it all the way apart so you guys can see how it goes. And there we go. There's the last piece. There, if you look closely inside, you can see the spring for the anti-reverse. Override. There it's in override position. There it's in activated position. Okay. It's really needing to be cleaned once more because everything here feels just slightly gritty. So I'm going to pause a minute. I'm going to spray it down one more time with WD-40 and wipe it all out one last time before I put it back together. Normally, I don't grease bearings, but these bearings were greased to begin with, so I decided to keep them greased and chose not to do anything different. So here we go. We're ready to start putting this thing back together. I'm going to oil this shaft right here for the crank, for the main gear. And then I'm going to come back and add grease to the main gear. And it's not necessary to grease every tooth. The grease is going to work its way around. All right. Slide that main gear back in. Now, we're going to do the same thing with our pinion gear. I had to inspect it, make sure it was good, and it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks good. There's no torn teeth or anything else in there. All right, now this is going to slide into this bearing, which the bearing is greased. It's an open bearing. It doesn't close off on either side. And we're going to slide that right back into here and get it to mesh up with the main gear like so. Once that's in place, we're ready to come back and reinstall the bearing retainer shield. Let's see, can this go on the wrong way? No, it's got a keeper pin. So you can only put it on one way. If you look, it'll spin around and it only goes one way. So it's only one way that it's going to line up. So that pin drops into place. And we're going to put these 3 screws back in. Now we're going to slide this rotor back on. And it should go right on now. Everything is set. We should be able to slip it right back on. The brake is out of the way. There we go, slides right down in there. And the keeper goes on. Once the keeper's on, you're gonna have to rotate it to line that keeper up so that it fits in there. Not real crazy about the way that fits. Not sure what it's hitting in there. Maybe it's just because the rest of it's not in yet, but it doesn't seem like it's. Okay, we're going to take it back off and examine it one more time. Okay, one thing I do know is this spring right here was above this instead of below it. So let's move this sleeve back over to where it originally was. See if that makes any difference in the way it rides. I don't think it will, but it looks like it's trying to. There. Yeah, see, that originally was supposed to sit right there. But I don't really think that would have much effect. But it may have been hitting it right here if that's where the, okay. That might have had an effect on it. Let's see. Drop this back in. Let's put our keeper back in. And rotate it around until that locks. You may have to hold the spool and the pinion gear in place to do so. Okay, that little plastic piece was the problem. Okay. All right. That part looks good. Flip this back over now. And we'll put our crosswind block back in. And it's going to go with this slot right here, facing down. We want to grease the face of this main gear where the crosswind block is going to ride. And then we'll slip the crosswind block in. We're going to put our main axle assembly in now. We'll slide it in. We'll gently rotate it a little bit to spread that oil around a little bit. Then get it to go in to the crosswind block. Get it to go into the hole back here, and then get these two holes right here to slide in and line up with those two holes. And when they do, our crosswind block locking mechanism goes in. All right. Now, look what I just found. I knew I had it. That's the E-clip for it. It was stuck to the inside of this case. That's what happens when you leave parts off for months. All right, we're gonna set this back into place and put our 4 screws back in. Okay. Put the handle back on. Okay, hold the rotor tight, tighten down the handle. All right. Look at that, ain't that sweet? I really didn't know that that bail would ever operate again. All right, the rotor's a little crusty, so I'm gonna be taking this off and I'm gonna sand this down or run it on my wire wheel just enough to clean the corrosion off of it, and I'm gonna reshoot that with some new paint. But in the meantime, snap it back on, put the cover back on, or the nut back on, and maybe this isn't in far enough yet. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and again, we have no clicker because here's our clicker spring right here. Now, if you will wait patiently, I will see if I can manufacture a new clicker spring for this. All right, we're going to try to manufacture a clicker spring for this out of this, and this is a spool spring for a Mitchell 300. And I'm gonna try to reshape it without breaking it, I hope. And reshape it in the form of that spring. See if I can't make it work. And let's see if we can put it in there and make it work. I don't know that this is going to work at all, but since I had a spare spool laying around, I figured it ain't going to hurt too much to try it. Okay, well, that one's on there okay. I'm afraid that other side's going to snap off. All right. Well, we have a spring on there. Let's see what it's going to do. Look at that. Okay, how about the anti-reverse? That works. Wow, what a beast of a reel. Chris, you like these things, huh? Well, I do believe I could just about land a shark with this thing. And this monofilament line in here looks like it's about 80-pound test. So somebody was using it for some heavy duty fishing. But it is functional. It's up and running again. The bail trips. It does everything it's supposed to do. This is supposed to be a manual trip. In order to trip this manually, you have to reach under here and flip down the red button like that. But it takes a fair amount of force to do so. All right, so there you have it. The Garcia Mitchell 386. What a beast of a reel. And this one was seriously abused. Somebody got it out in some salt water and did not clean it out. And it had a ton of sand inside it. I cleaned the sand out. We replaced the pin and got that functional again. So now the bail will trip and it will lock back. It wouldn't lock back or anything before. So the only thing that's not functional on this reel at this time is this knob is salt encrusted apparently, because I can't get it to break loose. It felt like it would be more likely to snap the handle off than it was to unscrew to be able to flip it around. So I'm going to leave it alone. But there it is. Anyway, I hope you guys like this reel and like this video. If you did, please hit your like button. If you didn't, that's okay. Hit the dislike button. And for now, this is Rick Stivers of YoungMartin'sReels signing out.